I started DSLR scanning years ago and I never stopped. And to convert those scanned negatives, there's a Lightroom plugin called Negative Lab Pro. I've been loving it, it's baked into my workflow and the software improved so much over the years. Now a new milestone is here, version 3. With some big updates. A couple of things that I really want to check out. Roll analysis. They say it improves the quality and the consistency of your conversions. Preset management. We can now save, edit and share our own editing styles. Undo and redo. It sounds like it should have been there since the beginning, but I'm glad that we have it now. And now we also have copy, paste and sync. Let's see how that works. And there are a lot more updates. I'll leave a link down in the description if you want to read them all. So let's go behind the computer. Welcome to a new episode of Let's Talk It Over. I picked 2 rolls from my archive, both shot on the same day at a music festival here in the Netherlands. First we are going to check out the roll analysis and then we will go a little bit more in depth on a couple of frames. I got a lot of experience in NLP, Negative Lab Pro, but this is also the first time for me checking out version 3. So let's go. So I got 2 rolls here. Go to the Develop tab, my white balance, sync the white balance. And now we are going to crop every single image because we need to crop it because we don't want to have the border messing up all of our conversions. I'm just gonna sync that setting and then we're gonna check if everything is a little bit alright. So now we have everything cropped. We have the white balance the same on every single image. We are going to open up Negative Lab Pro and this looks pretty much the same. Digital camera, of course. The Noritsu scanner is my preference. It has been for years, and now we are going also the pre-saturation at 3 default. Border buffer 5 still the same, but we have this little box here. It's called roll analysis. We're going to check it and let's convert these 37 negatives. So at the first glance we have now this menu which looks a little bit new. Of course we are in the edit tab right now. Here we have a new preset setting called settings which is now on Negative Lab standard. I'm gonna keep it there for a bit, but you can already see that there are a couple of presets. These are really presets like Noritsu, green shadows. You can see what happens there. This already looks pretty good. It really looks like a Noritsu. But we also have, like, say, if you like the frontier look, then we have this. We're gonna keep it on Negative Lab Pro standard for now because this looks the most natural to me. Tone profile, let's keep it on standard for now. The white balance on auto neutral. This is how it looks straight out of Negative Lab Pro. Already looks pretty good in my opinion, but let's go through the roll a bit and see how everything is cohesive, I guess. Go through the frames on this bottom corner. Second frame. Let's just run through these. To be honest, my first impressions are these are consistent in colors. I already know these scans, of course, because I already scanned them last year, but this looks pretty consistent. This is a bit off from what I did in my previous conversion. It's way too blue, but that's what I wanted to see. How is it going to perform in different light scenarios? Because this is all in the shadow and the previous frames were in broad daylight, in the sun. It looks pretty alright. I think this is going to speed up my workflow quite a bit. Of course, I have to tweak every single frame, but that's what I'm going to do nevertheless, even if I'm going to do every single frame conversion. I also tweak every single frame, but this is a good base. I feel like this is going to speed up my workflow quite a lot. So let's take a frame and work from there. I feel like I wanna do, which one I wanna do? Let's take this one because I feel like there's a lot of different colors, contrast, there is bright sunlight, there are shadows. Let's continue working on this one. A quick message, if you didn't know, I got my own print shop on my website. So if you are looking for a beautiful print that would fit nicely on your wall, go check it out. Link is down in the description. Free shipping worldwide, so don't worry about any extra cost at checkout. Another way to show your support is when you are planning to buy anything from Amazon, then do that through the links that I've also put down there. Doesn't matter what you buy, could be something totally different than the link that you clicked on. But then I'll make a little commission on it. Thanks for staying with me. Let's get back to the episode. It already looks like my previous conversion, but I want to tweak it. I want to make it better. I want to make it my own. So let's go to this. I always choose on the previous version Lab Soft. As you can see, it makes the image a bit more flat. That means that we can work from here. I like a flat base to work from. Then I can add my own contrast, my own color, my own saturation, everything. So let's work from a flat base, which is called Lab Soft. So the exposure is good, the brightness is good, we are not going to mess with that. I always add a bit of contrast, let's say around 5. The thing I do is that I always keep an eye on the top right corner where my histogram is. As you can see, it's pretty balanced, but now we're gonna add some whites to make it pop a little bit more, but make sure it's not clipping all the way to the right. And we're gonna do the same with the blacks, just like this. In my experience, it's almost every time 7 and -7 on every single negative. If we look at the image, we might want to brighten it up just a little bit, let's say around 4, and then we're going to make the shadows a lot warmer. I said warmer, but we're gonna crush the shadows a bit. As you can see in the histogram what's happening. That makes a big difference, creates contrast, creates depth in the image, and I feel like it needs it because it was pretty flat. I think around 20 is alright. Of course we have these things called Lab Glow, Lab Fade. I don't mess around with that. Also the soft highs, the soft lows. The only time when I press on soft highs is when there's a really bright part of the image that I just don't like. Then sometimes soft highs will work. But then also if there's, let's say, there's a bright white spot here in the image, then I might wanna white clip it. But I feel like in this image it's not necessary. White balance, auto neutral works like a charm. Maybe I wanna warm it up a little bit. Let's say around 8, maybe. And now we have the HSL, which is on lab. Let's see what happens. So a lot of big differences here. I'm just gonna keep it on lab. I think it's better than neutral. Definitely, this is creating some more color contrast. The greens look better and the warm tones look better. So I'm gonna just keep it on lab, saturation 5, it's perfect. Okay, so we have the image that we want, but there's one thing I wanna show you guys. If we, for instance, did something like this and we are like, this is not really what I wanted it to be. I wanna undo this. Then we have this below settings, we have this undo button. Let's click it. You see? Now we can switch between undo and redo. I feel like this should have been there since the beginning, but it wasn't, and I'm so glad that it is now. We can undo and redo the things that we have done to the image. So I clicked on something right now and I don't want this. So I click undo. And thank God these images are here. This was not on purpose. This was definitely not on purpose, but I'm so glad that this button, this is perfect, yeah. No words for it, this is perfect. So, what I wanted to do is to create a new preset from the settings that we just used. So let's create a new preset, do everything here. Let's call this Portra 800 Sunny Day. Because I feel like if I have this preset already, I can apply this to every sunny day frame in the future. That would be so nice. So save preset, and as you can see, it's now on the user Portra 800 Sunny Day. We can also make this a default. And if I go to the next frame and click on user Portra 800 Sunny Day, it applies all these settings, and this is just, it looks so easy, but this is really groundbreaking for me. This is going to speed up my workflow so much. So if for instance this one, I want to do this, looks pretty good. I want to make some changes because I think it's too dark, or maybe I think it's too warm. I can just cool it down a little bit. Perfect. So next one, put the preset on. Bam, it's looking pretty right. Maybe too warm, maybe too green. Put a little bit magenta into it. Looks pretty good. I always think that the cyans in the sky are way too saturated, way too cyan. So there must be a way right here to pull those down. But I like to do that afterwards when I export all these images or all these negatives as TIFFs. I like to tweak it a little bit in Lightroom itself. It's a bit easier for me to do that, but I like to do most of the things in Negative Lab Pro, so I have a pretty much 90% conversion with Negative Lab Pro. Could be 99, could be 100 too. Also, if I made some adjustments in this image, let's say I want to crush the shadows a bit more, but I don't want to save another preset, I can just copy all settings, and then on the next negative, paste. This is so good. Role analysis is amazing. Perfect. So like I said, we had a problem with this image because on the role analysis, I think the algorithm thought, okay, most of these images are in broad daylight. Of course, there's also a scene in broad daylight on this image, but most of the image is in the shadows, which of course is blue, is a bluer tone, but I don't want that. So what we're gonna do is, let's take the preset, Sunny Day. What we are going to open up the shadows a bit more because I want that detail back, and brighten it up a bit. Warm up the image. You're gonna add a little bit of temperature and take out the green tones. And this is way more like I am used to seeing this image. So what we can do is now reset it. This is what it looked like, and undo it. And this is what I think it should look like. I can now make a preset and call it shadow or something, but I don't think that is really necessary. I can just copy these settings, copy all of them, go to the next frame, paste it, and this looks already a lot nicer. Of course, I'm gonna tweak this because the highlights were way too bright. Maybe I want a bit more shadows. This one could also be a bit warmer. And then we are done. Next one. Paste. You see? So we are working from a preset that I created, and we are just tweaking it as we go through the role and make everything a little bit more better. But I think what I'm going to use role analysis for is that it's cohesive. It speeds up the workflow a lot more. I just have to tweak every single image just a little bit to my liking. Like this one, it was way too green. If I'm going to load up my Sunny Day preset, it is changing it, but it wasn't that green. So what we're gonna do is cool it down a little bit. and set the tint at, let's say, around 11. We're gonna brighten up the highlights a lot. We crush the darks or the shadows. We crush the shadows too much. And this really opens up the image. Make sure we don't blow out the background, but that's not what we are focusing for. We are focusing for the persons in the foreground. And this is looking pretty good. So what we're now gonna do is go into the next roll, same day, but just a couple of different shots, of course. I'm gonna do the roll analysis again, but just going to pick out a couple of frames, go a little bit more in depth on that frame, and see what the possibilities are in the new version of Negative Lab Pro. So again, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pick the white balance on the border of the frame, crop it, so there's no border anymore that's gonna mess up Negative Lab Pro, make it confused. We don't want that. And let's turn it around. We're gonna sync all of these settings, everything, sync it. Then the white balance is the same on every single roll. And then we're gonna check if the cropping is all right on every single frame. So now we have done the roll analysis again, but I just made my preset, of course. So I'm gonna pick Portra 800 Sunny Day. Looks already a bit better, but now I don't want to do this on every single frame again. So I'm just gonna sync, because I selected all of my images on my roll, of course. Keep everything in check, sync, and now it's synced on every single image. Makes life a lot easier. So let's scroll to these. Look all pretty all right. Of course, there are again some things I want to tweak, but let's go in depth on a couple of frames that I like to do. First one is this one. At the first glance, it's a bit too saturated for me, maybe too much contrast, so we are gonna tweak from here. The shadows, of course, we crushed it in our preset, so let's open up the shadows a bit more, say around 11, 10, 10-ish. Maybe take the lights down a bit. Maybe just keep it around 0. I think 0 is alright. The whites and the blacks, like I said, are the same on every single frame. If we now check these boxes, it doesn't make an improvement in my opinion. I do think it's a bit too warm and there's a bit too much magenta inside of the frame. And this already looks a little bit better. If I am now going to reset the image, this is what it looked like with Negative Lab Pro standard. And if I click undo, it's going to add my preset to it and the adjustments that I made. Maybe I wanna take out a little bit of saturation because I feel like it's too much. And I'm gonna just do it by the HLS tab, saturation, and then it just made an improvement going from 5 to 4. This is what I want. These little adjustments make the image for me. Let's go take another one, and that will be this image. This image looks a bit off to me. It looks okay, but not like I imagine it to be, and not anything like my previous conversion. So let's see what we can do here. I got my Portra 800 Sunny Day here, but again, I feel like I crushed my shadows way too much. This is making an improvement. It was on -20, and this is opening up the image a lot more, like I wanted to. A little bit brighter, in my opinion, would do no harm. And we need to warm it up a little bit. So we're gonna take the temperature around 13 and add a little bit of magenta, let's say put it at 8. This is looking way better already. We're going to reset. This is what it looked like in NLP standard. And this is what it looks like with my adjusted preset. Maybe I wanna even open the image up a lot more, but nowadays I like a bit more contrast in my image. Let's leave it around -3. Can we warm it up a little bit more? maybe. Put it around 18. Let's do one more and then we're going to export these images and open them up in Lightroom, make the final adjustments, and then we have our final images. So this image looks pretty good to me. We're gonna open up again because the shadows are too dark in my opinion. Maybe put a little bit more light, but not too much. And we're gonna check the white balance. I like a bit more warmer tones, so we're gonna put this at 8, 9, 10, maybe 9. And what I'm looking at is mostly the skin tones, but also the color, the overall color of the image. I think we need it around this. Is it too saturated? Maybe, maybe not. I don't think so. Let's keep it at 5. This looks nice to me. We hit apply. So I selected these 3 images. We can't do anything in Lightroom right now because if we going to do this, everything is inverted. So we're not going to do that. We are going to export these images. So let's select those 3 images that I want to do and go to export, make an export map, choose that one, export them as TIFFs, no compression, 16-bit bit depth, Adobe RGB. We are not going to resize them, but we are going to export. What we're gonna do is now go to import in Lightroom and import the export map. I know there's a way to make a copy in Lightroom again, but I like to do it this way. There must be a maybe easier way, maybe streamlined. I don't want to do that. I want to do it this way, but that's just me. So now we have these converted images as positives in Lightroom. So within Lightroom, I'm going to do my final touches on an image. This already looks good as it is, but of course we can tweak some things. What I like to do is just take a look at the image and see what things do I want to change. Not really much, but if we zoom in, we can do some detail management, as I like to call it. What I always do, and it depends on your scanner, your camera, everything, your lens, but what I like to do is make texture at 10, clarity at 10, and then we are going to details and we are going to sharpen the image. Because I left every sharpening off in camera or in NLP, we did no sharpening at all. I like to do some sharpening. I like the grain, I want the grain to be visible. So if you don't like it, you can always leave the sharpening as set, or you just take it a little bit lower than me. But I like to do some sharpening in my images to make it look like this. So now it's around 60, but it depends on which lens, which camera, whatever you want. But 60 looks fine to me. These settings I will apply to every single photo that I do. So we're gonna select all of the images, synchronize, and we're gonna check texture, clarity, and we are going to check detail, synchronize. That means that the texture and detail, everything is the same on every single image. So let's say we want to do some minor adjustments to the image. Maybe the highlights. If you look at the highlights, like left, top left in the sky, I might want to pull that down just a little bit. As you can see, it makes minor differences, but it's up to you. As you can see, we can also create more depth by adding a little bit more shadows. And if I go back and forth, we can see that we opened up the image a little bit more. This is what it looked like. Already good, a little bit soft, And with the adjustments we just made, we added more contrast, sharper image, and we managed the highlights in the top left corner a bit more. Minor differences, but I like to do that. And it looks good like this in my opinion. Of course, with DSLR scanning, we have things like dust and hairs in the image. What I used to do on every single image that I scanned is to go and take every dust particle out of the image. Nowadays, I can't be bothered with it because it takes so much time to do it, and if the image is only going to be up on Instagram, you will never see any dust. If it's going up to YouTube, I will make some minor adjustments, like here, this is pretty obvious, we can do that. But dust particles just like this, I'm not going to be bothered with it. But when I'm going to print the image, I will take a look at every single part of the image and take out every dust particle. But that's only when I'm going to print the image. So for this, I'm just going to take a look at the image if there's anything that I want to take out of the image. Like here, these parts are bothering me. And that's it. If I can't see the dust on my big screen, then it's alright. Then it's alright for YouTube, then it's alright for Instagram. Definitely for Instagram. But like I said, if I want to print this, then I'm going full on, focused, take every dust particle out. Next image. I need a little bit more warmer tones. So I'm going to just warm it up, add like 4 points of temperature and add some magenta +1. Maybe I want to take out the highlights a bit more in the hairs of the girl, but also in the sky. It's improving a little bit. Then I want to crush the shadows a bit, not too much. And let's see where we're at. So this is what it looked like, straight out of Negative Lab Pro. And this is what it looks like with minor adjustments in Lightroom itself. Again, we're gonna take a look, a couple of seconds, see if there's any hairs or dust particles that we want to remove. And there aren't any that I will see right now. Yeah, maybe this one, but that's alright. This one is ready. So the third image, the thing that I notice immediately is that I don't like it, that it's way too cool. And we're gonna add some warmth in here. Take down the highlights just a bit and add some more shadows to create more depth from the subject and the background. Let's see. This is what it looked like straight out of NLP. And this is with some bigger adjustments in Lightroom. But this is what I like. This is what I like to do. Maybe is that the colors in the sky here are a bit too cyan, but I feel like it's alright. Like in this image, it complements the colors because this cyan really looks a lot like the shirt that the girl's wearing. And here it also looks pretty good. So these images are pretty much done. My final thoughts on the new version of Negative Lab Pro. It has improved again. Role analysis is going to speed up my workflow by a lot. And it helps me getting more consistent results from frame to frame. This is definitely the biggest update for me. Preset management, wonderful. I memorized my settings before because there was no way to save it. Now I think I'll be making presets for a couple of different light scenarios and I'll be grateful for it. Undo, redo, a must, is finally here. And also the copy paste sync possibilities makes life a lot easier. So yeah, big update. I'm very happy with it. And I would recommend everyone to take this step. I hope this was helpful also for the people who are getting into NLP the first time for themselves. If you have any questions left, please feel free to put them in the comment section. Also, hit that like button, subscribe so you don't miss out on anything, and I'll see you next week. Peace.